Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of my house art tour. So today I have completed and I'm presenting a diptych to you that I've been working on for a very long time. It was commissioned by someone who, it was years ago. Let me see, when was it? She commissioned this piece from me. It has to be like 7 years ago. Anyway, maybe more. I don't know. But, so, anyway, it's done now. But the person, like it was a gift for somebody, so I imagine she found another gift. Anyway, I had lots of time to think about this as I was painting, and lots of stuff in here. So there's a poem that goes with it. This is a very meaningful subject to me now, probably more meaningful than before, because I've been thinking about this for 7 years. So one of the things that, so at one point I thought, well, I'll just force myself to do it. But I'm not the kind of person that can be forced to do things. So I thought, well, I'll cast a magical spell on myself to make myself do it. So I actually did. And that was like 6 years ago or something. So it still didn't really work very quickly. So you can see how it's remarkable that I up and finished it all of a sudden. Like, this must be the special time for this picture, because I'm what you call, like, I know what it's like to be wrestling with your own stuff, because sometimes I'm not even completely aware of why something's taking so long, but I know that I can't force myself to do it no matter what I do. And it was a commission, so I felt like I should really step on it. 7 years seems to be a long time to get something done. But anyway, the commission was. And I've loved doing this painting. Like, I loved getting the commission. I told her it would be really fast. I was so stoked. Like, this painting is exactly what I planned. Also, that's another thing. It's exactly the painting that I planned it to be. There was some discovery, but all in all, the painting hasn't changed that much from what I was planning to do. It's the muse. You're wrestling with the muse. And that's what this poem is about. Wrestling with the muse and that kind of thing is in the poem. So anyway, I guess I better introduce the picture. So the name of the picture is Freedom from Mustang Sally, which is less of a protest in this case and more of a statement. Like, violets, red, roses are red, violets are blue, freedom from Mustang Sally. Or like, I say it in my poem, the ocean, freedom, or, okay, so deeps for the ocean, height for the mountains, freedom from Mustang Sally. She just has it. She just has it. You can't do anything about it. And so, Mustang Sally. So, the commission was that the person who was going to be gifted these paintings was born in 1964, and they love Mustangs. So, it's their favorite car. So, to make a Ford Mustang convertible, well, she didn't say convertible, but I wanted to do convertibles. Not that I've ever driven a convertible car, but it just seemed right for what I was thinking. And it called to mind a few things. First of all, Mustang Sally, the song, written by Sir Mac Rice and performed by Wilson Pickett and many other people. And the second thing it reminded me of, I think because the person who commissioned this piece looks a little bit like Marilyn Monroe, like blonde hair, like, I don't know. I was thinking that I'll include a little Marilyn Monroe because she was in a movie called The Misfits, which is about wild horses. And at one point, there's this dramatic scene where she's running after somebody who's trying to catch the horses. And I think it's Clark Gable. And she's pulling on him, and she's crying, and she's shoved aside, and she falls on the ground or something like that, very dramatic. And you're left with this impression, the story, that she's like a wild horse, and she can't be tamed. And to be fair, she is kind of like a wild horse. So there's that. And so since I had Marilyn on one side, I was looking for someone to go on the other side as a portrait, because there are two pieces. Why I chose to do a diptych? I think it's because I wanted to have more room to talk, because I had a lot to say. But anyway, on the other side, I included a picture of Diana Ross because of Motown and Mustang Sally. I don't think she ever sang Mustang Sally, but there's something in that pairing that I really liked. Like, they were both really young in the portraits that I drew, and they were both really young when they started trying to make it. And they were both trying to make it, like, Diana Ross was 14 years old when she joined her first band, which was called the Primettes. And actually, she was discovered. The Primettes won a talent contest in Windsor, Ontario, I think. And the prize was to go over to A&E and do a recording session. I think that's how they got a break. So that's neat Canadian history. So there's that. And Marilyn Monroe is kind of the only thing she ever wanted to do in her life is to be a star. So she was always trying to make it, and she was very determined. And she had, she just tried everything, that a person could possibly do. And it worked in the end. So anyway, the story of Mustang Sally. So if you don't know the story of Mustang, if you don't know the song, the lyrics are, all you want to do is ride around, Sally ride, Sally ride. And there's a gymnast named Sally Ride, isn't there? I bet she was named after this song. All you want to do is ride around, Sally. Ride, Sally, ride. You're running all over town. I guess I'd better put your flat feet on the ground. And when Mac Rice would say it, he would say, I guess I'd better get your flat, funky feet on the ground. I bought you a brand new Mustang, 1965. Something, something. Anyway, there's a complaint. She has been purchased. Oh, he can't ride in the Mustang he bought for her because she's out there all the time just riding around. That's all she wants to do is ride around in that car. And he wishes that she would get out of the car so he could drive it, but he can't because he bought it for her, I guess. But anyway, how that song came about, there's a story, YouTube video. So Mac Rice was friends with Della Reese, who was a singer, great singer, and songwriters do this where they kind of workshop. They go over to each other's houses and they kind of workshop things and get ideas. But anyway, Della Reese made it big with a hit. And she bought herself a Lincoln, which is a car. And the band leader, they were joking around. The band leader and Mac Rice were joking around saying, well, you should buy a Lincoln for your band leader. And so that was a big joke. And then Mac Rice was talking to the band leader, and the band leader said, well, I'd much rather have a Mustang than a Lincoln. So if she could buy me a Lincoln, that would be great. So then I guess they got around to writing a song that would convince Della Reese to buy a Lincoln for her band, or a Mustang for her band leader. So they were throwing around all these words, like they would throw around Mustang Mama, like Mama, Mustang Mama, you can buy me a Mustang, or something like that. But through sort of working around with it, they showed it to Della Reese. And Della Reese was like, well, you keep saying Sally. Why don't you say Mustang Sally instead of Mustang Mama? And then the story changed so that he bought the Mustang for her, not Della Reese, but this new person, fabricated, plucked from the wind, Mustang Sally. And it became a huge hit. So Mustang Sally wasn't a real person per se. She was kind of invented. But in a way, the band leader was kind of like Mustang Sally. So if, for instance, Della Reese had bought the band leader a Mustang, I'm sure he would be in it all the time riding around. So the band leader had Mustang Sally in his heart. And Mac Rice saw this, and he took it and put Mustang Sally in his heart. And then the person who made it famous was Wilson Pickett, who had Mustang Sally in his heart for sure, because he was a wild man. And he says he's a wild man, and he liked to be a wild man. And he was kind of a fighter. Like when he was a little kid walking home from school, his friends would say how he fought all the time, like would just get into fights in parking lots or on the way home from school. Probably not always his fault, but he had a very big temper. And Wilson Pickett was a force of nature. Like, if you don't know about Wilson Pickett, there's going to be a song by Wilson Pickett that just, like, devastates you, you know. He's good. And he's, you know, Mustang Sally in his hands is electric, which a lot of things are in his hands. So Wilson Pickett, so in the poem, I talk about Wilson Pickett a lot because he's so electric. At one point, he was in the Falcons, which is a band probably in Detroit. Lots of this music stuff was taking place in Detroit or Motown. Motor City, the Motor City where people make cars, including Mustangs probably. So they're in the Motor City. What are they doing? They're making songs and they're making cars. So that's perfect kind of togetherness for this poem. But anyway, Wilson Pickett's girlfriend, when one of the girlfriends that was in a YouTube video I saw, met him when he was really just starting out. And he had holes in his shoes. He didn't have a jacket, so she bought him a coat, a leather coat, and some shoes. And so that seemed to me like purchasing something, Della Reese purchasing something for the band leader, the Mac Rice purchasing something through his voice for Mustang Sally, and then Wilson Pickett's girlfriend purchasing shoes and a coat for him. So there was something like that going on in my mind. Anyway, he's electric. He was a member of the Falcons, but because he was really making it on his own, he had a couple of solo performances and he really excelled to the point where they were about to go on tour and they arrived at his house to pick him up, and he just got in his own car and he was like, I'm sorry, I've got my own stuff to go with, you guys find someone else or whatever. But they couldn't replace him because he's irreplaceable. So they just dissolved the band and the Falcons were no more. Because why would you replace him? But anyway, he, you know, I mean, it was not a nice place to be black at the time, kind of in the South. So they'd tour in the South, but they wouldn't be able to stay in any hotels. Even after they had hits, they had to sleep in their car, and the restaurants wouldn't let them eat inside. They had to get takeout from the restaurants and just eat in their car. So when the Falcons were together, they were eating in their car. And when he had a band of his own, they had to eat in their car and sleep in their car. So that's sad. They were also pulled over by state troopers and forced to explain themselves because they had a nice car. So, when they started to make money. Although they didn't have they had a Chrysler at one point, but they were still pulled over for some reason, even if they didn't have a nice car. Imagine that. But anyway, so the state troopers would pull them over, and then they'd be forced to sing, to prove that they're lying. Which is sad. But anyway, so Wilson Pickett, an incredible force of nature. And that's the story of Mustang Sally. Great song, full of, it's got an amazing catchiness about it. It's got a great rhythm. It's got a nice hook and everything. So that's the second part of the Diana Ross. Okay, so Diana Ross. So the things that I talk about with Diana Ross are, she was a Motown singer. She was in the Supremes before that, she was in the Primettes. She was really young. She was in the Supremes. In 1965, the Supremes they'd already made it really big. 1964, when these cars were released from the Motor City, they'd already made it big in Motown. Like, they had Introducing the Supremes, I think, was their first record or something, and they were amazing. And Diana Ross's voice is amazing, and she was song and dance lady. And by that time, Marilyn Monroe was dead, but our Diana Ross was still alive. She's alive now, touring. She's probably playing somewhere tonight. I think somewhere in Europe. Last time I checked, she was kind of in Amsterdam area, but she was fast. She's 79. She's still touring, but she started really young, so she's still young now. But anyway, you can go see Diana Ross. Shit. Anyway, so Diana Ross was in the Supremes, and then she broke off to be her own solo artist. And she had hits in the 80s. Like, she was really... she had duets in the 80s that she did. She had this huge concert in the 80s, in 1983, that was magical, that's kind of legendary. And I learned about it from the documentary that was about the diaries of Andy Warhol. I think he attended it, or somebody who he knew attended the concert, and they were talking about it. She only sang for 45 minutes, but it was in Central Park, and there were 800,000 people in attendance. And I've seen the video now. And there was a storm brewing over New York at the time, like an electrical storm. So as she continued to sing, the wind blew. She was wearing this diaphanous red cape, or like cardigan cape, and then a long red dress. It was just flying up, and her like cape was flying, and her hair was flying in the air, and she was singing. And it was like she was conjuring the storm, and she looks like a witch conjuring the storm. So it's so beautiful. So I love Diana Ross. Anyway, they were talking about how legendary that was. And that was 1983. And she's been performing ever since. She's got tons of records. I don't even know how many records she's recorded, but many, many, many records. So she's been a consistent artist this whole time. And she did a lot of song and dance stuff. During the 60s, she did a lot of covers of 60s music, but she was a wealthy artist. Like, she had money, and she made it with her bandmates, and then she made it as a solo artist too. So it was great. And she was also in The Wiz, which she was an actress, but she was in The Wiz, which is a take on The Wizard of Oz, starring Diana Ross as Dorothy, and Michael Jackson as the Scarecrow. And it has all of these great songs. Ease on Down the Road. Great songs. So it's a really fun kind of take on The Wizard of Oz. So that maybe I should start talking about my painting. Okay, and so let me go through this. Oh, in 1964 also, Diana Ross and the Supremes, because they'd already made it, they were making other records. Like they did that year, I think they released 4 records. One of them was Diana Ross and the Supremes do country music. One of them was a tribute to Sam Cooke, who wrote a lot of songs. He was a huge songwriter in Motown. And I don't know if he was in Motown, but he was a huge songwriter anyway. And he wrote A Change Is Gonna Come, A Change Is Gonna Come, which is a beautiful song about civil rights and so beautiful. But he was shot. So sad. But anyway, he was shot by a manager of a hotel. And the manager never had to answer for it at all. It was terrible. So anyway, Sam Cooke. So they did a tribute to him that year, which is so nice. So anyway, great song. But great songwriter, really gentle seeming person. Later, the family appealed the decision. I think it was called a justifiable homicide. It's just so sad. But anyway, so if you listen to A Change Is Gonna Come, you'll probably know it's devastating. But anyway, what was I talking about? So they released 4 records that year that these cars were on. And one of them was that. So it was a big time for civil rights in the US. Anyway, I hope I don't cry while I'm reading that poem. That would be bad. Okay. So let's talk about the pictures. All right. So the first picture. Okay. So I'll explain some of the symbology if I haven't gone over it yet. So we've got the American Eye. This is the Marilyn Monroe one, which is a white Mustang Convertible. And so here we have the eye of the American dollar currency. And we have these beautiful flamey flowers, which are kind of like magnolias. So there are a lot of magnolias in this. There's magnolias in the other painting part as well. And so we've got the winds of fire, and we've got these little herd of Mustangs, and kind of roaming on the plains. And then we have this black hand caring for the Mustangs. And then we have the magic carpet behind the flames, which I think I was kind of getting at a Born to Be Wild kind of thing in Steppenwolf, and like, why don't you come with me, little girl, in a magic carpet ride? Close your eyes, girl. Look inside, girl. Let the sound take you away. Which is kind of like, everybody kind of wanted to do that with Marilyn Monroe. They wanted to take her away, take her on a ride. Like she was mistaken, I think, in a way, for like just this glad girl who's happy to be anywhere, but she was very ambitious and you couldn't really pin her down. Like she had a boyfriend who she didn't marry. I mean, lots of people wanted to marry her and propose to her, but she just wouldn't do it. She was too ambitious. She was really a career person, and she was really into like community, and she had a community of men that she was friends with. She had also her acting coach was a friend, and the vocal coach was her friend. Like she had a little community around her that was, small but pretty strong. And a lot of men, because men seemed to like her. I don't know why. Just kidding. I know why. Anyway, magic carpet ride. Why don't you come with me, little girl, on a magic carpet ride? Sounds like fun. And there are some horses. And there's our white Mustang Convertible. And also in Hollywood, when you're a certain kind of starlet, you'd be invited to parties, but you'd be invited to come alone. So they'd say, bring your own car, don't bring a date, because I'm not sure why. I guess it's because you don't want to have, you just want to have a fun time girl there who has no strings or something, and then will just disappear and you won't have to worry about her at the end of the night or something. Something like that. Lots of married men. Anyway, we know all about it. Then we have the black hand taking care of the horses, and the black hands taking care of the car, making the car. And then we have Ms. Monroe, and she's got a script in front of her, and she's working, which is what she always wanted to do. Then we have a Hollywood bungalow, and a man standing in front of her bungalow, maybe proposing marriage to her. Bad chance she's going to marry anybody. Well, she married two people. She married, first marriage was to Joe DiMaggio. That first date was set up by 20th Century Fox publicity department as a smokescreen, or not a smokescreen, a distraction from the fact that she'd been in some nude calendar and she'd posed for Playboy. So they wanted to, because she was working with them, they were like, what can we do? We'll just set you up with the all-American boy. And the marriage lasted, she was 3 hours late almost, 2 hours late for the date. And the marriage lasted 36 months. As did her second marriage to Arthur Miller, the great playwright of Death of a Salesman, and 36 months. So she wasn't a very good bet when it came to marriage. Anyway, so there we go. There's our Hollywood bungalow where she, tried to make ends meet. She was not doing so well financially. She was paying acting coaches, choreographers, and vocal coaches. She was trying to improve as an actress. She just wanted to make it. At one point, she had to renegotiate her contract because she just couldn't eat. She was going to dinners and stuff and eating there. She snuck into a 20th Century Fox production celebration. I don't think she either didn't have a ticket, or she stole a ticket, or she borrowed a ticket or something. But before that, she pulled a publicity stunt where she went into the costume department and, she stole the dress from the costume department that she wore to the dinner. But she also got locked out of her, she was working and she couldn't make money. But anyway, she was locked out of her trailer. Her contract was about to come up. She had to do something. So she was locked out of her trailer or something. Or she wasn't, but she pretended to be in her underwear with a fur and diamonds on or something that were stolen from the costume department. And she was flailing around looking for someone to help her. But she caused this big publicity. It was a publicity stunt by her. She was very clever in that way. She got into and by the end of that dinner, I think she had a couple of roles. She was so charming. But anyway, There's her Hollywood bungalow. She's in there trying to make the bacon, bring home the bacon for herself. There are the horses. If she'd just married one of those rich guys, they'd be like, oh, you don't need to work, you know. Yeah. She was already pretty volatile, though. She had serious mental problems. And that's, well documented. Anyway, there she is again. There's Our Lady, considering her script, which is really what she wanted to do in life. So that's this painting. And the second painting, so this one, there's a lot going on about songwriting here. And the muse. So we have a big black fish who is the songwriter in Motown, and all those awesome songwriters who are trying to romance the muse and trying to get that hit song so they can make enough money to live and eat, And so they have huge incentives, all those guys, and the producers have incentives to create these big hits. But anyway, so we have the big black fish who's, feeling it out. Fish are a symbol of the subconscious. They're swimming in the ocean. They're not working with hammers and nails like carpenters do. They're working with, feelings and the universal unconscious and archetypes and things like that, and just something that seems a little bit interesting. You've got daisies, which are a symbol. They're called marguerite in French, and they're a symbol of war, like being kind of Marguerite. I can't remember why it's a war. I think there's a translation that's a kind of war flower. But anyway, that's our Wilson Pickett right there, the powerful fighter Wilson Pickett. And this is the Emerald City because our Miss Ross, and here she is, Miss Ross, was in The Wiz in 1981, I think, or 79, 81, I think. She's in The Wiz, and we're all looking for the Emerald City, and all of the songwriters and people who are in the arts and everything were looking for the Emerald City, and we're fighting for it. Anyway, there's the Emerald City. There is the American Eagle of the 13 tribes of the Americas, who are the native peoples who were here before the Europeans came, and often the eagle is found clutching arrows in its hand, like in the constellations, the Aquila with Sagitta and the Lopecula, the fox. They're fighting over the arrow. Anyway, so there's the eagle of the Americas. Later became a symbol of the American, of the U.S. itself, and the eagle is a very interesting symbol, kind of like, in Greece, and you've got the eagle, but he was a pet of Zeus, and he had to do all these terrible things for Zeus. Anyway, there's the eagle. Very conflicted symbol. When you're talking about justice in the United States, that's a very conflicted story also. Anyway, so you've got that. There's another Emerald City on this side. You've got the feather of a Native American, but also like hats like we'd wear to church, like Sunday hats for ladies who would go to church in hats and still go to church in hats, and sort of I think this is a pheasant feather or a quail feather. I think it's pheasant though, but it's a special kind of pheasant because it has this white stuff on top, but it's basically a very docile bird. But you know, not all birds are docile. Some of them are eagles. Some of them are hawks. Some of them are doves. Anyway, and then you have the two snakes of the caduceus, which come together, you know, and the snakes coming together in the caduceus are really, I think, important because that's a symbol of health. And snakes are so essential. Like they have no, you know, they're like a fish. They don't have digits or anything. They can't pick up a hammer or whatever, but they can come together. And they come together in the caduceus to make health. And they don't bring much else to the event either. Like they just bring themselves. They're drive snakes. There's the snake and another feather, and then the red car, which is the red 1964 Ford Mustang Convertible. And I drive a car, you know, every day, or 5 days a week I drive a car. It was the 60s. She actually, the person who commissioned this requested something like this, so I put it in here. It's the 60s. So here's Our Lady, Diana Ross, and I put with her a lute, which is an ancient kind of pre-guitar, and lutes and other guitar-like things, they are available to people who, in the ancient world, there are tons of examples of people using stringed instruments, you know, all over the ancient world, in Egypt and in Greece and in Africa and all of these places. So I include that. And so I'm kind of getting at an ancient thing here because we're talking about the muse, and that is an ancient symbol. And the people who work with the muse are often songwriters, but this is an old art, and I think poetry is kind of like that too, although I don't play the guitar very well myself. It's an old art. And then we have black hands who are sort of down-bending Our Lady, and they're caring for her, and they're like blessing her. And then we have the magnolia, which is a symbol I associate it with the South and Southern ladies. Even though Diana Ross wasn't really from the South, she was born in Detroit, which is a great place for her to be born, if you ask me. And there's Our Lady again, also sort of celebrated by these beautiful black hands. And then we have back here is a property that in a building that is in Europe, and it was built by Carl Jung. So what I'm getting at here is like the subconscious, the ancient, the muse that you're trying to coax and court, because Carl Jung was a pretty crazy delver into the unconscious. And he was sort of a champion of the unconscious, and he was a doctor. So, you know, at the time, being a psychiatrist was not a very prestigious job for a doctor, but he was interested in the reason that we have the term archetype and universal unconscious and muse, or not muse, that's a really ancient word, but the reason that we think about these things the way we do is because of Carl Jung. So that's his house that he purchased or bought or built with his own hands. He had a lot of inscriptions in his house that are still there. You could probably still look at them. And the ones that I like the best are, there's this a sculpture of a god called Telesphorus, and he has an inscription on that, and it says, this is a quote from Heraclitus, actually. I think they told me it was Heraclitus. Heraclitus said, so the inscription says, time as a child, playing like a child, playing a board game, the kingdom of the child. So that's what's going on here. Okay, Heraclitus said, time as a child at play, gambling, a child in the kingship. So the universe is a child, time is a child, and we are playthings of the child, maybe. But anyway, that's the kind of lofty, weird thinking that poets do all the time, they tell me. I'm a poet, actually. Anyway, what were we doing with that? Oh yeah, so that's one of the inscriptions. Sometimes it's drafts, they say, which is the form of checkers. It's going to be such a long video. Okay, so, and another part of that is from the Odyssey. He goes on to say, this is Telesphorus, he's like a hooded god. He has a hood, and he's shaped kind of like a small cylinder kind of thing. Anyway, this is Telesphorus, who roams through the dark regions of the cosmos and glows like a star out of the depths. He points the way to the gates of the sun into the land of dreams. And that quotation is from after Odysseus comes home and slays all of the suitors, and the suitors fly off with their souls, and their souls are led out by Telesphorus, poet Homer. And so then oh no, he's a psychopomp of Hermes, Telesphorus, in that case. Leads away the spirits of his suitors. And then there's an alchemical symbol that said, I am an orphan, alone, nevertheless I am bound to everywhere. I am one, but I am opposed to myself. I am youth and old man at the same time. I have known neither father nor mother, because I have been fetched out of the deep like a fish, or fell like a white stone from heaven. In woods and mountains I roam, but I am hidden in the innermost soul of man, and I am immortal. I am mortal for everyone, yet I am not touched by the cycle of eons. So it's a description, I guess, of the person who wrestles with the muse, that ancient thing that we do. Okay, so those are the two paintings. And so a neat thing about the paintings, which I guess what I'll do is I'll put a little thing on the end of the video where the two paintings actually go together, like in every direction, because they have a structure that's kind of this crisscross structure. So, and I made it so that they join up and they kind of work and flow together, like in every possible combination. So they flow together if they're on there, like together like this, like that. They flow together and then flow together. And you mix them. That. together, and then. But I had that from day one. It wasn't a hard painting to do. I don't know why it took me 7 years. So anyway, now we're on to the poem itself. So, it's called Freedom for Mustang Sally. Which is not a protest, but a statement. Freedom for Mustang Sally. Okay, maybe I should try to point out. Okay. So, freedom fire, freedom flowers, stamens tap out pollen on the eye of the American currency, laying on the white rattan credenza by her neighbor, azure poolside sapphire diamond X zircons, earrings from the prop lady. So credenza money property of the highest grossing actress from 1955. 20th Century Fox, about to drive down the freeway where she studio sits in an aluminum chair and script reading, considering later afternoon the meeting iced tea in Angel Hollywood bungalow with few belongings and some wilting flowers, thinking chronically community and work such as it is. So much to renegotiate: contracts, money, food, publicity, new clothes, acting coaches, vocal coaches, sliding down. How miscreant. Women sitting at tables, trying to work in the pictures, song and dance, singing our contracts, we sinners. My first time at the theater, movies, and my first time in a car, the mystical experience, freedom unparalleled, vehicles a mystical, reporter transpo, magic carpet ride, little girl born wild in Steppenwolf-ic obsessments, the beauty of LA, Spanish horses on the hills overlooking highways, stars and cars black built from the black hands of the Motor City, she driving to the coastal agent meetings, so woman in the Spanish-style roadhouse with your head on the shoulders of the colleague friends, the colleagues' friends, the pressman Sidney Skolsky and Marlon Brando, who were both her friends. Sidney Skolsky, as soon as she married the baseball player, you know what his name is. I can't remember right now. She contacted Sidney Skolsky and leaked the story. He was friends with her, and Marlon Brando was friends with her, and they were together in the in New York, where they visited the actor's studio. She was at the actor's studio with you know who I'm talking about, the method actor. What were those people's names? I can't remember. Anyway, she was at the actor's studio. She was trying to be a serious actress. And Marlon Brando was there. She was working hard in New York. Where she was... That was after a contract fell through. Oh, it's such a sad story. Anyway, okay. Deeply back... And her neighbor in New York, when she was doing the actor's studio, was Truman Capote, who was writing the short story My Friend, which was about Breakfast at Tiffany's, which was about his upstairs neighbor, I think, Marilyn Monroe. So Breakfast at Tiffany's, I think, is about her, although it's been fictionalized because she would never, there are lots of things in there that aren't accurate. Anyway, what are we thinking here? Deep back-roomed community networks such as they were, and had her back and believed in her. Secret shames bind thievens, in the dark kissings in heart bind snakes, so unbind the old self-in skins left behind shedlock makeup trailers. The Pied Piper musin lust by her twisting, thieving, believing heart. She is bound by 20 years old to 20th Century Fox. That was when she got her first contract. To the gable-ended Mustangs ran down to self-sabotage freedom, shrieking, once believing the song and dance woman to put food on the table. Square-cut or pear-shaped diamond dealers, hat on hearts, stepped on the song-bound, soot-covered rock miners, howling hearts as they did and mourned, sobbing hard in closets and sunset alleyways because of something understanding them and ken to their truest soul's flame, wild and unpossessed, clutched in the church of their pants-smoothed, well-heeled souls. All in all, a slight-shouldered woman worker taken for a trading horse and ingrate, catching and negotiating and embodying the wind of the muse, becoming an enchanting widow's heart, and taking a harebrained snake to catch anyway, foxing it crazy enough to chase the wind aspirations and its gifts, breathing it into her chest to speak it from her mouth, and had to make a living in all, and in debt and renegotiated into emotional oblivion, intuited herself out of food on the table, and in death her chest fall downward, forever fever, teaching complicated, wild Mustang, freedom, funeral, vampire. All you want to do is written. Call and return, echo on the wind of wild horses, spraying out of the Tenok cruel empire to cruel empire deathlands, like an exhaust from dying stars. So fueled and learned by the spirit of past regrets, a black woman generous, whom a beautiful wildness sees in the shivering and shoe-worn Wilson Pickett buys a leather jacket and shoes for him. So he is song and dance dealing in a Chrysler with the game Scrabble fabrication Mustang Sally. Wickedly protective of Sally and his ribs, his own caged bird, the someone you did not want to get on the wrong side of, sings hard, and producers looking for a hit, Rick Hall, and picketed to put food on the table and sending it back home to Wilson's mama. Wilson's fighting in the snow beneath the eagle of the 13 tribes of the daughter's feathered headdress and Sunday hats. Feathered headdress. Fighting in the snow beneath the eagle of the 13 tribes of the daughters. Feathered headdress and Sunday hats of migrant birds, and musical the weapon fashioned to an ancient instrument. Ringing voices with raging Pickett Wilson rings far and wide to even imperial halls for the magnolia. And caged bird in his heart's songstress, Mama and Dark Goddess. By 1964, our then own deeply man-mourned and small-shouldered friend, was a starlit corpse, and Diana Ross was singing embering, Sam Cooke, A Change Is Gonna Come, that asks their brother for help and knocked back down on their knees again. 9 years length of cat feline lives, the archetypal and downfended Diana Ross, whistling through universal subconscious and the eagle flies over Detroit. The eagle flies over Detroit, snakes approaching each other over universal subconscious. Snakes approaching each other over snake to forsake all others, the caduceus shedding all skins to the essential ones, shaking hands in their hearts over the deed. Dazzling, Miss Ross makes wrist motions with a folding fan on stage this weekend and laments this weekend and laments the hotel manager death shot. And laments the hotel manager death shot of a songwriting man. All songs become sacred in the songwriter's glowing hearts. Mac Rice, Wilson Picketted song, talking to Lady Sally with us. In the writer's room, hotel bar, napkin, elevator, car, ashtray. And her eternal spirit with us, nightmares we are, wild horses, and highwaywomen, ingrates, again in our own men's sponsored convertibles to party attend. And in 1983, Ross, taking the stage in concert at Central Park, calls electricity from the sky and pelting rain, singing 45 minutes, winding her hair, arms blowing through, and whipped up her red translucent cape into the air. And she said, "It's okay, I'm here. Be calm, put your hands up, we will stop the rain." Not a good idea, because it was actually a really bad storm, and there were 800,000 people there, and it put out hundreds of thousands of people from electricity, like there was real electricity. Anyway, we will stop the rain. All seeking the Emerald City. And now do I seek the Emerald City, or a Hollywood bungalow haunted by a distant cousin, career woman, her wits lost by every indecision and ruination. Meaning Ms. Monroe, of course. But anyway, I will stop annotating my poem now. Time run out for all that time has run out, and time runs out. A bad trap worse. The thief heart Mustang Sally, whom the camera shadows in an apartment. They're reaching into a one-story house to focus on an orangey red half-crushed lipstick sample and a new blue gingham dress, haunting alleyways and production lots. In negligee, high heels, and a fur stolen from 20th Century Fox's costume department. Tomorrow's golden child, Tiffany, twisting, but not really, because she was a woman's man, a man's woman, a woman man's believing heart for community such as it was, who wanted to work. Suffered from a plague of bad advice, devices, vices, oh my woman folk, and yet an out-of-towner, Hell's Kitchen, Strasbourg, that was his name. Strasbourg, Hollyhock, witch, and yet guilty, remorseful, shame-filled, shameful, enchantment teaching, and stop clock, wild running heart in this year would be 97 as I am writing. For writing, Mac Rice negotiated and renegotiated with racing muse and wind by way of Della Reese, playing out the hand he's dealt with the full height of that round. Quicksilver rituals and thankless words of hotel to car and diner coffee rings, song stirring over the Mustang Mama, a song that could enchant a horsepower convertible from the Lincolned Mama Della Reese, Emerging from the smoke and darkness, he guesses you'd better slow your Mustang down. He guesses there's something he must do to put your feet on the ground, Sally ride. He guesses he'd better, but he doesn't know. But to Sally, hearing radio listening mans and women who've been from the born day on their drawn nose. Oh, from their born day but to Sally, hearing a radio listening mans and women who've been from the born day to her drawn nose. I know where the snake Sally and the twin heart and the flame of the wild comes. And so does wicked so does wicked church song yard fighter Wilson Pickett. Oh, he used to sing in church. Church song yard writer Wilson Pickett, I have permission to call him. And he's there. Delivering the uncontrollable electric shrieking message, don't tell me what to do. I am the wicked Pickett, and this is what I do. To Alabama Prattville, called out, preaching grandfather, shrieking to the worldwide the terrible beauty of Wilson, and all us those in souls brought to your knees by Wilson Pickett. The Falcon breaking up the Falcon midnight hour breakout. It was the midnight hour that was his big hit that set him away from the Falcons. Singing on, which was kind of like something that a preacher would say. If you come to the place in the midnight hour, when anyway, the midnight hour. Midnight hour breakout. Singing on Ride, Wild on Wilson. Singing the triumph of Mustang Sally in a shift and turned away from the inn and restaurants at the age of 24, the whole band sleeping and eating in the car, pulled over and asked to sing by the side of the road, singing tormented for the state troopers who say to prove they are not simply liars. The intimidating and agitated and driving rain of Wilson Pickett's Spitfire Flint, desperate, moving song of writing and touring, just trying to work for a living. See how strong they are to sing it. Ride, Sally, ride. In their man's hearts is this woman not in compliance, shrieking and riding without stopping. Driving in a beat-up Chrysler, the wheeling of horse traders begins, and the bets are made toward yesterday's greatest hits in commerce for God's mouthpiece, plucked off the wind in fist sweats and breathless hands, writing in gentle prayers, handling delicate moments, archetypes, and currents, the dark night of saving souls, which I guess is kind of like this and kind of like this. It's the money, it's the voice, it's the talent monger song stirring. What feelings parsed from the sky with careful fingers devastating us to tears on Masson souls saved. 800,000 persons in the audience. Ride has been picked up on the wind and world delivered in Central Park. In the storm of Our Lady sings a mother's song. Reach out and touch someone's hand. This is Diana Rossi. Reach out and touch someone's hand. Make this world a better place. Conjuring the storm in a red translucent cape, calling the electricity from the sky, running wild. Born in Detroit, no regrets in the wild wind carrying. Similar, the universe giftings, height for the mountains, depth for the oceans, black for the starless night sky, a rebellious heart for the tear-filled walk-home fighter, the 8-year-old Wilson Pickett. Dreams of a lifetime more of romantic love for drunken song lovers, a longing to cry out for our song-torn, tear-streaming, hearing hearts with no ready song in them, a kind heart for some, the ability to enchant for the fermented grape, perfectionism for Levi Jackto. I just made that up, that name up. And same with Mustafa Kaplan Apsoy. The will to live for Mustafa Kaplan Apsoy, a beauty that no one can possess for Diana Ross, pallor for poet me, a speaking widow's peak for Norma Jean Baker, a freedom for Mustang Sally that nothing can ease, erase, or upend. Then loving blazes out the heart like wings, and those who song love up into the sky winged hearts, all those who've never seen her stop and won't, you longing in the face of the wilden for flying over the wild world. Okay, so that is my poem and my paintings. So I hope you like that. It's a long video. It's over an hour, but I have a few other things to say. Okay. Okay. So that's my poem. I guess there are a lot of ideas in there, but I don't know why it took me 7 years to write this, it didn't take me long to write the poem, but it took me 7 years to figure out these pictures. Not figure them out, they were figured out. I don't know. I guess sometimes it just takes a little time for things to happen. For me. I blame the muse. So I'm working on a lot of other paintings at the moment. I'm working on the oil, the descendant painting, to go with the poem that I wrote about my descendant, which I did, I think, last time. It was a service-oriented poem, but I'm doing a painting for that. It's actually coming along really nicely. So I'm not going to give a timeline about it, because who even knows? But I'm a dedicated worker. I would never not work on something just to be difficult. So I'm writing a lot of my novel, and it's streamlining a lot, and I'm trying to tell the story in a concise and compelling way. It just gets bigger and bigger. It's like, you know how you, like, if you have too much soap, it just fluffs up, and then you're just like looking for a way to get rid of the soap, but you can't do it without replacing all the water. But I really love writing the novel, so it's not a problem for me to spend a lot of time on it. It's just spending time with people that I've come to adore, and so there's that. And I wish there were like 10 of me, but wouldn't it be cool to make little pictures to go with my novel? After all, it was supposed to be a screenplay. I can make little, like, what are those things called? Like storyboards. Make little storyboard boards about the story. So this is cool. I have opened a Bandcamp channel for an artist, and I put as my genre spoken word, and I have the album cover for poems, the spoken word album that I'm going to be selling on Bandcamp for $13. And it's called MoonSet. And it will include this poem written or sort of spoken, but without any of the annotation, and or like it'll be just writing, just poetry. And I'm going to include probably 8 poems, maybe. Probably all of the ones that I've read on this channel will be on there. So that. My new poem about Queen Elizabeth II and my other new poem about caring for the cow. Those aren't ready yet, so those won't be on it, I don't think, because I'm going to be doing that hopefully soonish. But I've had a lot of videos, so a lot of poems are already ready. And it's so funny. There's a, I don't want to make this video too long, but there's a record that DuPont made, and I have it in my house, and I tried to kind of recreate the feeling of that DuPont record. It's called Fall In. It was a musical celebration for the fashion show they were going to do for DuPont, which I guess was nylon clothes. So poem about Elizabeth II is coming on really well. And I've already actually made some of the video for that. But the painting is the thing. But it's already planned out. That doesn't mean it won't take 7 years. But let's hope it's done soon. I've been trying to do things faster. And it will be an oil painting. Maybe that'll make a difference. My descendant painting is already coming on really well. And it's an oil painting, so maybe oil will. Maybe what my gears, maybe I needed an oil can because of oil can. So maybe that's it. So reading this. Oh, I had a breakthrough about my photo show. I know exactly how to present it now. Thank goodness. So that I figured it out. I've cracked the code, but I still need. There's a lot of work. I found out that I need to do a lot of work for it. So that was a good realization. But it's going to be really nice, I think, when it's done. I just have to do a lot of work about it. But anyway, things are going really well for me. I love this time. The Witches Walk. I was invited to the Witches Walk, and I couldn't go because I was working, but Tiffany Morgan organized the first annual Witches Walk in Kingston. And if you want to walk with the witches and like dance around with them and be in a little witch walk with your witches and your little witches maybe, just go on to Kingston Witches Walk, the group page in Kingston and on Facebook, part of the witches. So that's so cool. I'm so impressed with that. It's so amazing. And I counted how many witches were in the picture. There were a lot of witches. And I saw a lot of witches downtown and heard about the witch walk. So it went really well, I think. And I think today is Tiffany Morgan's birthday. So happy birthday if you're watching this. I relay all of my, what's that called when you best regards. My best regards to Tiffany Morgan. What else is going on? Oh, my next video. I think I want to go a little more into my community and do some paintings that I have in my house. Like, I have a few paintings by Ariana Marcus. I have a few paintings by Joanne Gervais. I have paintings by some other people. Diane Southall, I have paintings by her, although I know her by a different name, as my friend and good friend. And I also have an old thing from the Agnes Etherington for artists that I knew about when I was younger. And I have a whole bunch of artists that I want to talk about. So maybe that'll be my next thing. And I guess that's all I have to say. It's only an hour and 20 minutes. Okay, well, I wish you guys all the best in the world. I wish you freedom. I wish you love. I wish you happiness. And I hope that you're having the most wonderful day. And I will talk